I mentioned before that Trocare has had a number of versions of Trocare, and so I can talk about things that contradict themselves. Here I'm going to kind of talk about all of the different versions of one part of that, to a limited degree. The cosmology of Trocare, and by cosmology, at least in D&D, that typically means the gods and goddesses of the world, the game world, has gone through a number of changes. I've tried different things throughout Trocare's lifespan. It started with the idea of an animist cosmology or theology. Not really theology, but basically everything, every from the Pocahontas song, every rock and tree and has its own spirit, its own little guardian spirit. And that to some degree still exists. I don't think it's going to come up in the sandbox game. I would probably leave it out of there, although it's a possibility. Then I transitioned into a sort of a semi-dualism. I say semi-dualism because it's not two factions. A dualist theology is where there is like this ultimate good and then this ultimate evil, or just two opposed forces at work. And it came about because there was on the D&D forums I'm a part of which I am a part. I shall not end my sentence with a preposition. There was a big discussion about law versus chaos. In D&D, alignment, in old versions of D&D, not 4th edition, alignment was a grid. There was the good, neutral, evil axis, and then there was the chaotic, neutral, and lawful axis. And you get to pick one from each axis. So you could be lawful good, you could be neutral evil, you could be chaotic neutral, and so on and so forth. Now, where the issue comes in is that a lot of people have trouble. It's not a very internally consistent. I shouldn't say it's the people's fault. The system itself is not very consistent when it comes to differentiating between what is law and what is chaos on this overarching cosmic scale. And I was trying to find a way to do that. So I created this group known as the Gods of Law, and then I created this group known as the Gods of Chaos. And the gods of chaos, being chaotic, were innumerable and completely mutable. They were constantly changing. It was just this roiling mass of different consciousnesses, each with, godlike powers. And then the gods of law, there were basically three main gods of law, and then there were associated gods around them. One of them, and that's the topic of this video, was Derrgan, the wandering god. And this is not him, but this is the closest thing I've ever found. Do you know how difficult it is to find pictures of just one guy walking in the distance of a landscape? They're not overly common. I don't know why. Probably because they're stupid. This is called Wanderer Above the Mountain by OWLL on DeviantArt. So that portion of the cosmology, when I was in that phase, what happened was Derrgan was a god of law, and he was the god of essentially music and entertainment. And there was this huge war between the gods of law and the gods of chaos, and they were fighting each other, and their followers on the earth were fighting each other. And Derrgan refused to take sides. War was not, it was like anathema to his art and entertainment portfolio. And in D&D, that's what it's called. The aspects of life and creation that a god has dominion over is called its portfolio. So I'm not just making that up an artsy term for the art god. This war was completely outside of his domain. And so he said, you know what? I'm not taking part in this. And so he stepped aside and didn't take part. Now, the gods of law beat the gods of chaos. And Ro, R-O, who was like the main god, decided that he was going to curse Derrgan. This, in addition to being law versus chaos, this particular story I was deliberately trying to evoke a sort of old school Greek or uh, mythology kind of story. He cursed Derrgan. So now, well, actually, they got in an argument, and Ro was berating Derrgan for not taking part in the war, and Derrgan was arguing back that he had no part in it. And eventually it got to the point where Derrgan says, okay, you want me to take part in the war like this? I mean, the war's already over, but he's like, you want me to have this interest? Well, then fine. The earth now is mine. And so he divinely claimed dominion over the actual earth. And it's something that can happen. So now suddenly the earth itself is in his portfolio. That is his area of control. And Ro's like, okay, well, that pissed him off. So he curses Derrgan to walk the earth endlessly. And so now Derrgan has to wander across the face of the earth, and he cannot stop walking. No matter what he would try, he can't stop walking. If he were to just lie down so he couldn't walk, his feet would just grab the earth and pull him forward. And until Ro decides to stop letting him wander, he has to continue that way. Now, I'm going to keep that part of Derrgan. I like the Derrgan who has to wander. In fact, it's my favorite part of him, and why I keep bringing him back, and why I call him Derrgan the Wandering God. So I had always wanted him to meet PCs. Derrgan has the ability to change his appearance. He can appear as whomever he wants, and so you can meet Derrgan multiple times and never know that it's the same dude, because he can change into a man, into a woman, into animals, into other races, and specific individuals if he wants to. The only thing is he cannot stop walking, so you can never meet him sitting at the bar because he doesn't sit. And that can stay for the sandbox game. Derrgan the Wandering God will appear in the sandbox Trocare because what purpose he serves is that he is a mouthpiece. He is an immortal god who has lived through everything that happened in Trocare, and he's also a meddler. He likes to meddle in things. And so he is there to sort of serve as a mouthpiece to divulge history of certain places if players need that kind of help. He serves as a sort of plot engine where he can direct the players to do stuff by appearing in different guises. It's essentially, it lets you I'm making air quotes here, railroad players to where you want them to go. Again, a sandbox game, the players get to choose, but you can drop hints and everything using Derrgan, and if the players start to get all, I don't want to say pissy, if the players think, hey, this doesn't make sense, this is supposed to, why is everything working out so well this way? There is an actual in-game reason. It's because there's this god pointing you in the right direction each time. Another story that I had forgotten about Derrgan, but I found it in my notes next to the Hoach, was Zephyr. I always love the name Zephyr, Zephyr, or Zed. And Zephyr, it was another attempt by me to create this sort of mythological this myth, this story about Derrgan in the past. What had happened was Derrgan was wandering along a beach once, and he sees this man drowning in the ocean. He was this sailor who I guess might have been swept overboard or what have you. And so Derrgan he can walk on water, walks out across the water, grabs the dude, and brings him back to shore. And of course, while the guy is sitting here sputtering and coughing and trying to regain his breath and everything on the sand, Derrgan is just walking in a circle around him. And then he just asks the guy point blank, "Do you want to be a god?" And the guy's like, the guy's completely flabbergasted, but he's like, I think he might have sarcastically said, "Sure." And he becomes a god. Derrgan just makes him into a god. And Zephyr, who is this guy, this sailor, he took the name Zephyr after that happened. Derrgan had deliberately chosen him. This was soon after he was cursed to wander the earth. The problem was Derrgan... Whoa, that was weird. I accidentally hit a button. And now we got this all out of whack, too. Okay. There we go. Now we're back to normal. Derrgan was newly cursed to wander the earth, and so he was feeling pretty bummed about it, and he decided that one of the ways to get over being bummed about it was to just go whole hog in the opposite direction. Instead of being a god of law, he would try and become like the gods of chaos and exert his freedom and be an individual and say, Ah, you want to curse me to the earth? Well, screw you, because it's a party down here now. And he deliberately chose Zephyr because Zephyr had that kind of attitude. And so now Derrgan has this guy with him all the time who encourages him and bolsters him and supports him in that sort of activity. I will change it here to the fact I think in Trocare, Zephyr's just going to be an invisible stalker. And he'll so like a little being made out of air who follows Derrgan around, but he's invisible and he can be incredibly silent and what have you. And so that way, most people, unless they want to reveal Zephyr to you, you won't find him. He won't be a god. He'll just be a companion of Derrgan, a way to enforce things. And that way, Zephyr can do stuff for Derrgan, act like his hands, while Derrgan gets to maintain his disguise. And it all works out. So there you go, a little bit of history, and once again, a little bit of new stuff for the sandbox. Bye bye.